Hey everyone, welcome to the 6 Gear channel. We're going to go over what Ford has just announced. So essentially Jim Farley, the CEO of Ford, has come out and said we're writing off basically $1.9 billion of money they've spent on tooling and trying to figure out a third row SUV, electric SUV. And they're basically saying, you know what? Electric cars is just not a thing right now we're able to make money with. And it just makes sense because profitability on electric cars is non-existent. Especially when you are coming from a gas manufacturer and you're now trying to retool your plants or even build new ones to build electric cars. You have so much competition like the Chinese manufacturers, BYD, coming in and undercutting your costs and your basically retail sales, and they could just do a better car for cheaper because the car brand has already built a system and a process in order to build a electric car, whereas these gas manufactured companies are now having to retool and rebuild plants just to basically be pushed into an electric car. Now, they're not saying that they're getting out of it totally. They are going to produce now more hybrid versions instead of a full electric car, because you also got to remember too, converting someone to an electric car from a gas, that's a hard kind of pill to swallow for a lot of people, especially like we up here in Canada. If you're in the middle provinces like Saskatchewan, Manitoba, especially Saskatchewan, where it gets to like negative 40 degrees Celsius, there's no way an electric car with 500 kilometers or 500 miles, even then, is going to be able to get you from point A to point B, because the province has cities so far that you're going to be screwed if you don't have gas stations around or even electric chargers. Like you're stuck in the middle of nowhere, really, and the infrastructure is still not there in those provinces. Now, electric cars are good for the city, I would say. If you're going to travel 10-15 kilometers and you're going to plug in maybe every 2-3 nights, I mean, hey, I would drive an electric car, why not? But to have people literally swallow the pill of, no, you know what, you need to have an electric car even though you commute 100 kilometers or even, let's just say, 50 to 70 miles a day, that's a lot to swallow, and it's just not fair. And the biggest problem too is that they're having troubles selling it because the car price alone costs so much for an electric car. And then mind you, we also got to figure out the used side of it too, because selling a used electric car, we're not very understanding of how that works. And what I mean by that is, when the battery's gone, are you, as the dealership selling it or the customer purchasing, going to dish out like 40 grand, let's just say, to put a battery in? Like, no one has the money to do that. When you need a new motor and you need a new transmission, yeah, at the end of the day, you got to put 5-10 grand in. I mean, it's a doable cost. But to put in like 30-40 grand into a electric car or electric SUV, that's a lot of money, and who knows how long that's going to last for. Now, one big thing too is with Ford, the F-150 Lightning pickup truck, they had issues when it first came out, when it came to range. I remember people buying these trucks and then saying, I could get 400 kilometers or 300 miles on the truck, and then when the winter hit, you're getting half that range, if that. And then the one big thing to note too is when you're towing, like a lot of people tow some of these with these trucks, you again are losing so much range. And then you got to figure out as a consumer, is it even worth it? You're spending sometimes the same, if not more, money on an electric pickup truck or even electric SUV. You got to ask yourself, is it even worth it? Because I'm towing, I'm commuting a little bit more. I am in an area where it does get cold, the climates do get cold, and it doesn't just make sense, right? Like I said, if you're in the city, you're commuting maybe 20 miles or like 40 kilometers, let's just say, it's not bad because the car can do it. But then the worst part is that when you do have to charge and you are out and about, who wants to sit there for 30 minutes, let's just say, to charge a car, or even an hour? Now, some of these cars, when you put a bigger capacity battery in it, it's going to have to charge a little bit longer, and people just don't have time for that. No one wants to sit in their car and wait while their car needs to charge. But even if you get to that spot, let's just say you go to a spot and all the chargers are full, like, you're just going to waste your time there. Like, to me, people want to pay for convenience. The gas station's a very convenient thing. you're there for not even 5 minutes and you're done, you're full, right? Drive off. So that's a little bit of a rant of electric cars. But what I'm trying to say is that Ford is actually doing a little bit of something smart, I think, because they see that the future is not in electric cars at this moment, because there's a big push for them. I understand in some areas, yes, it may be needed, but they're pulling back a little bit and saying, you know what, this just doesn't make sense for us financially too, because the Ford stock has actually come down, quite a little bit in the last couple months, and Ford has said they're just not profitable in some of these cars, right? Like in one of these articles here by Yahoo Finance, they're saying Ford is revamping its electrical vehicle strategy. It's canceling and pushing back some of its projects as the company looks to get a hold on higher EV costs. So now we're seeing, obviously, to get a EV vehicle on the road, it's costing more money. And then they go on to say the changes come as Ford sees smaller, cheaper EVs as the future, with hybrid technology reversed for powering larger vehicles. Now it's funny here because Toyota was the only brand, I would say, that really said we're not doing full EV in our lineup. We're going to go maybe hydrogen or hybrid. And hybrid or plug-in hybrid, I think, is the best combination, especially for people who have that range anxiety, because you can basically go on a full charge for like 50 to 100 miles or kilometers, and then you got the gas that kicks in. Now, going 50 to 100 kilometers in one day, most people, I would say, don't do that, but you've got that ability to be like, if we're going to go on a long trip, we could take the gas and, the plug-in hybrid, we can go a little bit on the hybrid, on the electric, and then we can go gas up wherever we need. It just makes more sense that way. And people, I think, can get on board with that. Now, one thing here that in Yahoo Finance, they said here, the updated changes to this product strategy will result in Ford taking a special non-cash charge of about $400 million for the write-down of certain product-specific manufacturing assets, and could result in a further $1.5 billion charge in later quarters, the company said. So essentially, Ford's just saying, okay, we're losing money here. It is what it is. The Guardian also has mentioned, they're saying that they're writing off, basically Ford is writing off $400 million in tooling for this 3-row electric vehicle that they were going to develop, plus another $1.5 billion in extra costs in the future. Now, it's crazy to even think that this company would lose basically almost $2 billion in just costs for just a electric vehicle, now that they're saying it's just not going to work for us. And I think most people are now going to get on board with this, saying electric vehicles just don't work right now. In some cases, I would say, like I said, if you're in the city or if you just love the electric car, then whatever. But I would say for the most part, most people just don't want an electric car. They just don't understand it, number one. And number two, the convenience of having a gas car right now and going to a gas station is very easy. To get an electric car, you got to install the 240 plug in your home. It's a convenience thing. It's just not very convenient for people right now. So I think Ford right now is actually doing something really smart, and they're kind of holding off on it. Going to a hybrid model, I think, is a better idea. The cost of the electric vehicle to manufacture has gone up. Like I said, and you're competing with companies like BYD in China. It stands for Build Your Dreams, by the way. Why would you compete with them? Especially companies like Tesla, where they came out and originally were an electric car brand. It's a little bit easier for them to start selling because their manufacturing plants have been tooled for electric cars. They didn't have to go from gas and convert to electric. So that's always a good thing. But overall, electric cars have kind of come down in sales a little bit. People have kind of held off on purchasing them compared to gas. People just want a cheap car. If people can get a 20, 30 grand cheap car, people are going to buy it. Like, why do you think Toyota still sells cars, Honda? People still want cars. Obviously, people still really want the expensive SUVs like the Ford, the Expeditions, and the trucks like the F-150s. They still want those things. But yeah, the cost of them, 70 grand for a truck, that's just craziness nowadays. So, even I wouldn't be surprised if Ford started coming out and saying, we're going to build a car again, because right now, Ford trucks and SUVs aren't selling as much, so we need to go back to basics and sell cars. So I wouldn't be surprised if Ford did that. But essentially what I wanted to do here, guys, was go over that with you and let you know a little bit about the market and what Ford's doing. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe GM followed suit, because I know they've got some electric cars in their lineup, but you know, if they went back to making some of these cars, and if they can even just turn a little bit of a profit, it wouldn't be a bad idea, because right now the market is demanding, you know, cheaper cars and cheaper trucks. So anyways, that's all for today. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments. Do you think Ford's making a good move, or do you think they've just totally lost it? I'm curious to see what you have to say. So anyways, we'll see you guys in the next video.